My name is Mónica Cuende. I am Franco, José Luis and Alfredo's colleague in the Bioregional Economies Association. Like Alfredo, I'm going to talk about a case we are involved in right now, the Irati currency in Navarra, in the area of the Irati Valley. And it's a currency that has been implemented with the help of the waste management community of the Irati Valley. Initially, this currency was designed to support the correct separation of plastics from the waste, a section of the waste where we usually throw out, say, plastic caps, small plastic pieces, toys, things that you don't know well where they go. And in the community, they wanted to have a section for waste that was clean and also take advantage of the plastic that Aoiz is not collecting, the one whose useful life ends in the dumping site. We were thinking about what to do with this currency, and we thought about how to promote the collection of this plastic, because what's always done is a fine, a punishment, and so on. Lately, we are seeing that there is a big desire to punish in this country. So we believe that we can promote more positive changes if we do use other ways like the bonuses. The Irati is a complementary currency that's worth €1. So I want to suggest, after this introduction, in some 20 minutes, I will speak to you about the experience of the complementary currency that is supported by the waste management of Irati, a very brave community, because the experience we had in Madrid are steps going backwards, saying, no, the accounting, the people, this is getting away from me. But in Navarra, they are very driven, so come on, let's innovate. Because if what we're doing now is not working, then maybe some other way will work. So in the first part, we're going to see this, and in the second part, I propose doing a group dynamic, because as we can say that if it weren't for technicians or experts, then City Hall's technicians and controllers wouldn't understand what we are talking about. At the same time, the citizens don't understand what the technicians are explaining. So I'm like a translator from the technical language to the human language, and I'd like to think with you about one of the difficulties I see in the currency, how the community uses it, not to keep it as a souvenir. If people do understand what a complementary currency is, its values and so on, and that through communication. I'd like to think about it with you as an exercise, thinking about headlines for a newspaper, tweets. I propose this challenge that you help us to think about how to use the Irati currency, how we could communicate it so that people like me, who 2 years ago didn't understand what a complementary currency was and had a hard time understanding how to maintain the flow. This is the Irati. If I'm not mistaken, we have 25, 5, 10 and 50. It's made of paper. The idea is to be able to do transactions with your mobile phone and pay digitally. The Irati is a complementary currency. It's a municipal initiative that for us is important and relevant, because we have the other experience that when you ask the citizens to support all of that, there comes a time when it's too much. So from the experiences from other cities that we're going to listen to, we'll see that it's not just that we request it from the city, but we are the city. If citizens ourselves are the city, we should demand this of the city. But they don't understand it, so let's try to make them understand. And like I said, it's a currency that's backed by euros that the community supplies. Well, with the excuse that they're not going to be fined as they will do things well, no? In 2020, now they've extended it to 2023, There's a European regulation that compels us to recover 50% of all the waste that nowadays are going to garbage dumps. It asks us that we recover it, that we recycle it, and that we give it a value and a second life. In some places, like where I come from, which is Madrid, even if born in Barcelona, the fine that's going to come for not being collecting any organic waste is going to be huge. The only experiences related to organic waste are the community compost makers Alfredo was telling you about, and the test we did with Madrid Agrocomposta, collecting the organic waste carefully sorted without any foreign elements and taking it to farmers so that they could treat it. Plus 2 districts that have adopted a 5th container, a brown one, except that Madrid, capital of Spain, is not collecting organic waste. I mean, it's like that, headlines, it's like, what's going on? But on the contrary, Navarra is doing it. I was telling you that bonuses are a key issue and very important because we don't want to punish or fine anyone. We already know that it works very well to get you to put on your seatbelt so that you don't look at your mobile phone while driving. I don't know how many of you look at your phone while in the car, but I have a colleague whose car is usually at his office, and the fines don't matter. Tobacco, that worked very well, but not only because of the fines, but because there's been a change in behavior that's usually supported. And we want these bonuses when we spend millions of euros on campaigns of awareness so that behaviors can change. If what you want is that behavior is maintained in time, there's a university called Stanford. It has studied how, you know about this neuromarketing, neurology, the behaviors work. How much does it cost to do 30 minutes of exercise, quit smoking, eat healthily? It depends on the time you want to implement an action, the impact. If you want them to do something for the first time, that they repeat it over time or quit doing something, you'll have to have one strategy or another. So we believe that to make something sustainable over time, to generate a good environmental awareness, and this includes gathering up waste, giving bonuses is vital. There's no other way as far as we understand it. Well, the waste community understood this very well, and since April 2019, we have, when I say we, it's because we feel part of the Navarra family, not that we are taking credit of this. So we have, 150 iratis have been issued every month, and 0.7 tons of plastic, that's not a container, have been collected, and it's that little pile that you see there that we have. Well, that challenge of what to do with it, and now we'll show it to you. Since this experience has worked very well, we've replaced the second life that this currency is going to have. In principle, it's associated with you gather up the plastic and I weigh it and I give you this. Where is it done? At waste collection checkpoints that are mobile. In each of the cities, they have mobile checkpoints, and you know that on a certain date of the week, you can take your plastic and they give you iratis. In January 2020, they became enthusiastic, the waste management community, and said, let's also go for the organic waste. We're already treating the organic waste by doing community compost. They're doing it, they're gathering it up. They've done a pilot program to try it with large producers of organic material like businesses. So the challenge now is a home pickup service with a bin of approximately 5 liters, and that people separate their organic material. But it's not good enough that they separate it, but they have to do it correctly. And correctly means 0 impurities. What are the impurities of in organic waste? Well, everything that is not organic. That would mean, what would any impurity be with regard to plastic? Well, that which is not plastic. So we need the organic waste to be very well classified. Only leftover potatoes, no diapers, no glass, None of that, because of the final destination of that organic material, like in the case of Madrid Agrocomposta, will be the treatment, but it won't be done by a big waste management company, say Composta, FCC, or whatever you have here in Extremadura. No, the farmers are going to do it, and they're going to be paid for it. We're going to be paid for being waste managers. How? Well, like they've done all their lives, like nature does, by composting. So the people who participate in this, of course, since we do this in the gardens, it's necessary that there be no plastics, batteries, diapers, sanitary napkins, nothing that's not organic. Then, for participating for a year, if you've done it correctly, that is separating correctly without any impurities, you'd get 30 iratis. We've separated it in a checkpoint. First checkpoint is 6 months. You've done it correctly, yes, you have 15 iratis. Second checkpoint, end of the year, you've done it correctly, another 15, and you have 30 iratis. Now, these iratis, as much for plastic as for organic waste, the work that has been done was to encourage local commerce to also participate, to come in and play. And the response has been incredible, from hardware stores, beauty salons, pharmacies, bars, all kinds of businesses. Around 45, I think, up to now, are participating. And you can go and spend your iratis there. At the moment, paid out for plastic, and from January also for organic waste. Any doubts up to here? Yes, in principle, unlike Madrid, there's no problem if you pay 10, 20, 30%. There's no limit, also 100%. Yes, €1, 1 irati. And later, if someone said, I don't want to, they also have the possibility every so many months to exchange their iratis for euros. Today, as of today, they weren't circulating much because people were more collecting them, half keeping them. When you see the local merchants, you feel that there's a sense of, I won't say pride, but awareness that there is another way to work. They're seeing the recirculation of that money that is going to remain inside the community. It's not an euro with which you can pay the rent. It's not a euro with which you can pay for gasoline. That one remains there among themselves. And there's also a list of places where you can go and buy in this town, in the other, in this city, in the other. We now know that to collect plastic is in the minority, but as soon as it's a minority, like 40%, I usually say that 50% of what we throw out is organic waste. Some say 36, 48, 42, but it's easier. Half of what we throw out is organic, more or less. So as of January, when we start with organic waste collection, we're going to see a lot more iratis being issued. Now we'll see what the amount will be, and it will begin to have more movement. This slide is a bit technical. I'll try to make it short and explain it well. It shows the relation of the circulation of plastic. We were talking earlier about the closing of organic waste circle and what it was. In plastic, the closing of the organic waste at this moment is we have two ways of treating this plastic. Either the waste management community can do it directly, or a factory can do it from a consortium. And it takes charge of grinding it up, because to give plastic another life, here we have the waste management community that would collect the plastic. We have tried this procedure, haven't we, Franco? At this moment, this procedure is being tried because it's not easy to grind that plastic, which is what we wanted the consortium to do, because if you don't give it to them ground up, these people who are called Solteco, they don't want it. And I'm going to show you what they do, something called extrusion. For example, in compost heaps or in specific urban furniture that is being made from this, as you know, we have a plastic invasion. We have a big problem with plastic. We love wood, we love it a lot, but as of today, we will have to live with the plastic we have generated, and we are responsible for it. This is one way. You will see, if you look at where the cut is, you'll see inside a little aluminium foil, a piece of toy plastic. So that's the final destination of extruding plastic. It's melting it, and what we would obtain is compost boxes, benches, rubbish bins. I'm not going to go into detail because there are a lot of ideas to make. There are people who are making marvelous things. They're called, what are they called? Precious plastic, yes, which is what Solteco could do, but in an open code. They give you the plans so you can make the hardware of all the machinery, so you can grind, melt and shape plastics, and you can make your own objects. The idea is that in the future we'll be able to have containers, the same as another business, the same as when the plastic printer came out, I mean 3D printers. People said, oh, what's this? And today you can make artificial hands for people who don't have hands, aside from pistols or, of course, everything. We can make good things and bad things. So precious plastic is the activist part with what you can do with this plastic, but this is the recirculation. We have the iratis here. This is the closing, the entrance and the closing of the plastic circle. Can I just add something? Yes, go ahead. Well, there are two channels. One is that the community grinds absolutely all of it and takes it to Solteco, so it extrudes it, and the community commits itself to buy 9 tons a year in a carpentry, either to make their own compost containers or the urban furniture. The closing is, they buy waste from the neighborhood, pay it with iratis, Solteco extrudes it, makes the woodwork, and the community buys equipment for the city. So it throws out waste, and at the same time it recovers it. And there are two channels. One is that the community grinds it so that Solteco can extrude it, all the plastics, and the other is separate different fractions of plastics. The PET, for example, from the bottles becomes repet. It's paid at 0.14 euro a ton in the Peralta plant. The high-density polyethylenes, the low-density ones, and the polypropylenes, all of these plastics, 4 of the 7 types of plastics, right now, if they are well separated, can be recycled separately. But the problem is that, well, right now we're opting for this option. All the ground plastics will be used to make this furniture because of logistical and understanding problems. We've spent some months analyzing Channel A and Channel B, and we've opted for Channel B. Since the aim is about communication, colleagues from... I'm going to go through this quickly. We're going to see this later because it's important, because it's the argument and in the reasons that a technician will want me to say. I have a great slogan that will come later, so we'll show you the manual about the collection of organic waste, not plastic. We're focusing on January, what will happen in 2020 with the Irati community, and the forecast we've done on the collection, treating and issuance of the currency. I've made a shorter version. We're going to have in 2020, well, we've made a calculation based on approximately 1,025 tons of organic waste produced in the Irati area, which includes several towns. Then you see that in 2018, nothing was collected. Culebrete is a dump, so this quantity of organic waste was sent to Culebrete, as there is a part that is recovered doing community compost, and, well, it has other destinations. So in 2020, the idea is to start collecting in homes. We're going to start with a pilot program of about 100 homes. And if they participate, we will reward them, not only because they participate, but because they do it well. we will give them 30 iratis, 15 at the checkpoint in 6 months and another 15 at the end. And this is the forecast. Here it says in 2019 we were going to start with 100 homes, but we've delayed it. This is the diagram we made for last year's presentation, but we've delayed it. So this 100 would move to 2020 and it would be like this, moved over to the next cell. So the idea is that in 2023, what you can see here is that we send 0 waste to the dumping collaborative. This will be the iratis that we have planned to issue for the businesses on the one hand. To motivate the businesses, we went to meet them, told them about the system. A role-playing workshop was done so they could see the difficulties or the challenges and what benefits it could have. So a number of iratis were issued in advance because we needed currency to start circulating. And on the other hand, we have the ones that will circulate within the homes. Since this currency is backed by euros, by the community, here you have the amount in 2020. Alfredo, is it 1,180 iratis, right? Then 6,000 for homes and 1,180 for businesses. In 2020, you're going to see the increase of currency issuance, and for the businesses it's not much, as the idea is that we don't have to give them if they're not part of the pilot program. Well, are you following more or less? Because I want to go to communication. This is clear? Any doubts? No? I'm going to pass this one. So now let's talk about what I was telling you before about precious plastic. This is what Solteco does professionally, but it is being done by people who are doing it privately with open code hardware. You can make your own mold if you're good with your hands and you can cast iron. But people are working like when the 3D printer appeared. Now you can buy it. It's a lot easier to make it, but back when it started, like the extrusion workshops that are being done in Latin America, well, in order to recognize the work being done in Latin America, many of the innovations that we bring to Europe, be it related to nutritional system, be it whatever, we have to recognize the work done in Latin America as they are at the forefront when it comes to imagination. So you can use the plastic, as you can see, for housing. In fact, in Spain, we work with companies that are installing compost boxes that are made of, I think it's, the knife is going around the room, isn't it? That are made from that material. But you can also make housing, you can make parks. So plastic might not be a product that we like, but it's there and we have to live with it. So all of this had to be explained to the public administration, which they understood very well, as we were lucky that the spirit was one of understanding, of innovation and goodwill to make a transition, but we also had to explain it to the common citizens. Well, this is a mobile checkpoint in Navarra. This lady with a tender look of an elderly woman is actually a militant. She is the president of the waste management community. She is a person who goes after everything. She looks for ways to tell and ways to do things, but she knows that the way in which things are being done is not working. It doesn't matter how many times we do something, it doesn't work. She's innovating a lot since she became the president of the community. So this is a mobile checkpoint. You check your plastic here, but organic waste won't be collected here. It is collected at home. So, well, this is on the day of the opening, and I wanted to recognize Mabel's work as president. We were talking about the eco-feminist view, so recognize her job as a woman working in the waste management area and how she's going to forward step by step. These are some images of the businesses which accept the Irati currency, and this is the symbol you will see outside to let you know that iratis are accepted. In the local media, it's important news that the community is collecting plastic and that they do it with this currency, and also binds together the businesses and also generates wealth locally. And these here are I'll show you how we explained the citizens, something that was very complex. You'll see it very small. Can I take this off here? Here it says, get iratis to buy in your stores, recycle plastic, it has rewards, prices. So there was an attempt to reward and to make people understand. Some people said this has to be done well, simply because it has to be done well. But okay, now go and tell the citizens that it's like that just because you say it. We're not going to make it. So then we explained it to them in 3 easy steps. Why it was important to recycle plastic correctly, what was the equivalency, where they could take it, and where they could exchange the irati in the local commerce. Later, we gave them examples of what could be recycled. It would go to the waste checkpoint and they would get iratis in return. And the yellow clear and well identified is that Ecoembes keeps, is what Ecoembes keeps. So Ecoembes takes it, Ecoembes treats it. And back here, you won't see it very well, but there is a series of reasons like, do you know that the community rewards you for recycling plastic? They explain that 1 irati is worth €1, where you can use it, and for every 2 kilos of plastic that you take of the waste checkpoint, you get 1 irati. Yes, you receive 1 irati. Well, like I told you, the plastic has... And since Ecoembes is not in charge of the waste checkpoint, they don't care. In fact, we did a workshop on something else, and where we did talk about these plastics that could be recycled, as citizens' workshops in Madrid, that had the impact of working together. And well, the first thing they did was to call and ask who we were and what we're trying to do, working on this. We were going to issue a plastic currency because it had already been attempted in Madrid, but not with the plastic that doesn't have a checkpoint, but with Ecoembes plastic. And they wanted to talk to the promoter of the citizens' workshops to find out who they were. That was the answer when you have the checkpoint, and in this case, they haven't said anything. One thing is the fraction of plastics that are packaging and still going to the yellow container. These are the plastics that are not from packaging, like toys, the toothbrush, a broken chair. All this is plastic, but it doesn't have the checkpoint to allow recirculation. So Ecoembes is a sort of little mafia keeping a part of our plastics, but not all of them, as most of them end up in a dump site. Nothing guarantees the citizens that their plastics are recycled. More or less, 50% of plastics are not wanted by anyone. There's not a clear intent to recycle them. They end up being exported to China or Southeast Asia. Our focus is on the plastics that go to China or Southeast Asia, and those that end up in the dump sites. Those are the ones that we recycle to extrude them, but not Ecoembes fraction of plastics. That would be a fight. Well, excuse me, if this is going to start to revolve around ecoembes, I'm sorry, but we have something super important to do, which is to talk about communication. We'll talk about that later, because ecoembes is not even worth a minute. Not a minute. Forgive me for talking like this, but it's just not worth it. Everyone knows, don't we? We're not even working with that plastic, because not even ecoembes are taking care of that plastic. They should be responsible of, but they aren't. So they simply don't care. Excuse me, but this is the communication for the organic waste. In January, when we start, it's the same system, because the designer is the same as the previous one, so that the people get used to it. So we didn't want to be disruptive, so we're going to follow the same example as, and in this case, we want to say the same thing. In this organic waste, please don't throw this, this, and this. We're going to go to your house to pick it up. The system is that we give you a closed 5-liter bin, and closed means that some come with air holes because of some reason. There are communities or towns that want you to use a bag. We don't want them to use a bag, because even though you must use a compostable polymer bag, they'll end up using the first bag they get. So we've told them not to use any bags. They can keep it. In the end, they will have to clean the bin with water anyway. If collection is 3 times a week, they won't have... yes, time's up. Sorry. Well, that's it. So we have a big challenge. And that's how to make the citizens understand complementary currencies. If we were to tell the citizens what you have seen here, I'm going to ask you, I have some sheets here if you want to get together in groups of 3 or 4. It's very quick and it's a very instinctive thing. I'm going to ask you to think about the cover of a newspaper, a magazine, and you tell me in what media it could be interesting, whether in the community or in Extremadura or in your own town. If you want to introduce this, what would be the news? How could we say it? What would be the target audience? Who would list it? Who would you list? Would this come out in the newspaper, La Razón? Does it have to go with ideology? Or would it be easier for it to come out in a diario.es or in ABC? Or would it be easier for it to come out in the local newspaper or your town or a general newspaper that comes out in all over Spain, like El País, for example? I ask you to do this exercise thinking about those media outlets. What audience would be willing to listen to this? Would ecoembes be a sensitive audience? Should we rather tell the citizens about it? I'm going to ask you to come up with an inspiring headline about what we've told you. Has the Irati currency inspired you? Be it to collect plastic or the organic waste that doesn't go to the dumps, that farmers can receive it and compost it. Has this inspired you? Could you help us with a headline? How could the citizens understand? And a quote, we recovered this, the citizens this or that, we have this or this challenge. And the hashtag too. See what you can come up with. It doesn't have to do with the Irati currency. It can be a currency that works on the network of plastic or organic waste recycling. And I would ask that we move on to the interview and to it. Are you up to it, or are you too hungry and your energy has dropped? How are you doing? Well, I detect little desire. Do you want some time? Would you like to get into groups to work together? Oh, what's this? You have to energize this. What's the matter? Come on. Well, thank you very much for your attention, and thank you very much for having listened and for having participated. I'm going to go around the groups to see if I can help you. Thank you.